Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sree Iyer. Joining me is Sridhar Chityala ji. Sridhar Chityala ji is a banker, he's an economist, and in a previous life, he used to be living in Australia. He has lived many years in Australia, then he migrated to United States. Now he's a dual citizen of Australia and United States. So therefore, he is looking very, very forward to this upcoming series of Border Gavaskar Trophy. And I don't know who he's going to root for. Certainly, his heart says one thing, his head may say one other thing. But we are going to take a critical look at this thing called Board of Control for Cricket. And in our opinion, we have some very strong words to express what we think is happening there. It's up to you to whether agree with us or not. I leave it to you to make the decision. So we have a few things that we are going to discuss about. Let's welcome Sridhar Chityala ji. Sridhar ji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel. How are you, sir?
Namaskar. Very good morning to everybody in Asia, and very good evening to you in West Coast, and late evening in East Coast. Sriji, very happy to be here on a very different topic.
Thank you, sir. And viewers, some of you will put comments saying, look, neither of you have played cricket at the highest level, so you have no right to criticize cricket. You know what? Cricket is a simple game of bat and ball, and there is a certain balance between the two. Some days the bat dominates, sometimes the ball dominates. That's it. It's a simple game. We are all passionate about it because we played this game in our youth. And even today, if I see an interesting game, I'll stop whatever I'm doing, watch it for 5-10 minutes, and then go on. It could be gully cricket. See, the point is, it's just a game, and that needs to be appreciated. It's ebbs and flows and things like that. Now, what I want to do is, Sridhar ji, in his early days, used to be in Australia. So we are going to take you back to the late 80s when the Indian team used to come visiting Australia. Those days, they did not have the luxury of what they have now. Now, I think they are spoiled brats. This is my opinion. I could be wrong. But those days, things were completely different. And I would like Sridharji to start going back from the late 80s, what used to happen, how the playing 11 used to be selected. Don't miss that one, sir. Over to you.
Very, very interesting opening comments. Well, I live, as Sriji pointed out, lived in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia, been associated in some form or the other. I was a banker. Our bank funded the expansion of what we call as the Great Southern Stand and the completion of the MCG Stadium. And what used to be the hill, there's no hill anymore. So the brilliant stadium that you see, one of the bank that I was with, played a part in completing that. Along with that, as an expat or an Australian citizen of Indian origin, we had, we always hosted and were very hospitable to visiting Indian teams, and quite a few of us would put together a program to host them, in major cities: Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, Brisbane, and Perth, and provided them with all that is needed. Those days in the 80s and 90s, BCCI was not a very rich institution, and I'm not going to comment as to what used to be the players' daily allowances, etc. Today, they are, of course, multimillionaires and probably the richest cricketers in the world. So I think that there's a very interesting kind of behind the scenes knowledge of what used to transpire. And Indian cricket team was some of many parts. It's not a holistic team. So you will probably find clusters of people. I'm not going to be more specific than that, but they always come together in the field and play the game. But within the construct of the team, there was always some dynamics on field and off field, etc. That did play its part, and you would see the results that you saw in the 91-92 World Cup, as well as in some of the test series that used to happen during that period of time. And Indian teams used to be called as very bad tourists. They often will perform well in Melbourne and Sydney, but in other grounds, their performances were not up to the mark. Sriji?
Thank you so much, Sridharji. Now, see, viewers, you may not know this, but there was one series, 1991-1992, where Sourav Ganguly was part of that team. That is the team that I believe played the 5-test series or 4-test series, it doesn't matter. There were also some games, 3-day games and things like that, and then they went on to play the World Cup. Do you know one thing, viewers? Sourav Ganguly did not get a single game. He did not even get a single game. I don't even know if he carried drinks. Why? Because he was Dalmia's man, and the other people wouldn't have anything about it. I mean, this is the kind of attitude the BCCI used to carry. And
Yes.
Sridharji, you are leaving out the best part. You're not telling me, or you're not telling our viewers what used to happen. They'll come and sit in our friends' rooms and your house and things like that, and then the calling will begin. The calling will begin where perhaps at your expense, they're calling up who should play the next match. It wasn't the performance on the field. It was somebody deciding who shall play and who shall not play. Talk to us about that, Sridharji.
Well, I think to reaffirm Shree's point, I think Sourav Ganguly, the captain Mohammad Azharuddin was the captain, Abbas Ali Beg was the manager for that team, and Sourav Ganguly was one of the members of the team. And as Sree Iyer pointed out, that he didn't even play the practice game in Albury, which was a 3-day game, and he went through the whole tour, 4 test matches. He didn't play a single test match. And as he pointed out, I don't know there's obviously, as Sree points out, there are some inner dynamics within the BCCI politics, but a couple of cricketers within the team told me, you may not see him, but watch out for this man. He's a talented player, and we had the pleasure and the opportunity of also having him for dinner and with few other players at our home. And he told me that these 2 cricketers told me that watch out for him. And as it turned out, he became one of the successful captains in subsequent years. So these kinds of dynamics play a part, as Sree Iyer pointed out, and these phone calls and the other things that Sree Iyer is pointing out is very common, which is namely to say, there is a pattern of selection at that point of time where each zone gets a chance to pick 1 or 2 players. No zone gets left out. Probably central zone or one of those zones gets left out. Otherwise, you go back and take a look. You will have combination of players from various zones making. And I think there was also at that point of time MRF Academy, and there will be somebody from there as well. So today, if it is about franchise cricket, which is establishing its footprint, those days it used to be this zonal pattern of selection. As I mentioned, eventually, they will try to put together a best combination on field, and whatever reasons, despite their potential, the outcomes were inconsistent with the outcomes that came out. Speaking with some of the journalists who made their way around that time, and that's a different story. And basically, the journalist used to say that once they come to the eastern seaboard, which is Sydney and Melbourne, the pitches are very similar to Indian conditions, and you may see better performance relative to what you see up north or up west.
Thank you, Sridharji. Now we're going to take a look at 5 factors about what is happening in BCCI, Board of Control for Cricket in India. I don't understand why it should say Board of Control. I mean, what the heck are you controlling? Cricket is cricket. Why can't you say promoting cricket in India? Anyway, so this is the name that has stuck from the British days. Let us leave it at that. First one, sir, this recent whitewash of 0-3 to and club side. Sir, I'm sorry to say this New Zealand team as a club side. I'll tell you why I'm saying that. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I have read that New Zealand cricket team comprises of players from 2 or 3 public schools. These kids they are people from affluent families, a few exceptions here and there, but they all go to the same set of schools. They learn their cricket there. Of course, the coaching is excellent. The overall development is excellent. So essentially what you see is people coming from those schools, then they go into clubs, they start playing cricket, and that is the team. Are we saying that 1.4 billion Indians cannot put together a group of 11 players who can beat 2 club teams? Sridharji, I have tell you, this is the first one that I wanted to ask you. We seem to think that we will put spinning pitches and then we will start winning. So I wrote it deliberately, spin it to win it rather than cross win and say lose it, because that's exactly what ended up happening, Sridharji. This is not the first time too.
Well, I think, Sriji, the one has to look at the talent pool of the current team relative to the talent pool of the past teams in India. They were, much and far better players of spin than the current combination that you see. Many of them trained in the IPL format and the IPL shorter T20 structure. I don't know what temperament and what kind of technique and talent. So you kind of select the people based on the performances on the shorter format of the game. Then you're going to kind of face the consequences. And many of the opposition teams, whether it is Australia, whether it is England, whether it is New Zealand, more specifically Australia, South Africa, and New Zealand, have great number of players playing in the IPL. So they know the pitches, they know the players, they know the strengths and weaknesses of the players. As the great New Zealander Simon Doull pointed out, a second-class team has come, a second-class set of spinners have come and defeated the Indian team. It's not because India has lost the art of playing spin, just the competency of these players are highly questionable against playing spin. This is a disconnect between, the BCCI and probably the whosoever is determining what type of pitches need to be made. But that clearly came out and it unraveled in terms of the talent and the outcome of the New Zealand series.
Sridharji, I'm on a roll today. I'm going to ask all of those who will comment that, Sree, you don't know anything about cricket. Let me ask you a counter question. You know a character called Rajiv Shukla? What does he know about cricket? Why is he sitting in the BCCI board? Answer that question. So you look, simple thing, it's a game between bat and ball, and you have to basically outthink and outfox the other side. That's it. Whether it is a batsman or a bowler, you have to do that. And now let's take a quick look at the selection. What happened in the selection? Sirji, in selection, always there will be somebody who's winner, somebody is a loser. In this particular case, what surprised me was that the players that were selected, they seem to have some sort of a template in mind. For example, let's not go into the playing 11. I had, you had 3 openers or 4 openers. In fact, I think we had 4 openers. Some playing 11s had 4 openers and they were playing middle order slots. So either you decide that somebody is good at middle order or somebody is good at opening, because test match is an attritional game. Every ball the bowler bowls, he is going to tire a little bit more. Once you see him out the opening spells, after that, it is your day. This has been said by none other than Sunil Manohar Gavaskar. And he said that Rohan Kanai told him that. Give the first hour of the day to the bowler. After that, the other 5 hours are yours. Sir, why were these guys in a hurry to get out? 46, the team selection, somewhere they should have thought about, listen, if there is the Bangalore pitch has been under water for 3 days, and if you win the toss, let us field. We don't know what is there underneath that. How did they decide to bat first? So there's a story behind this. I'll give that story. First, I want your input. What prompted the brain's trust of the playing 11 to choose to bat? Any idea?
Well, I think the captain of the Indian team made an observation that it was a serious misjudgment on his part, error in judgment on his part to have batted. I happened to be traveling through Bengaluru at that point of time. The weather was quite bad, cloudy, as you had pointed out, rained. Why would you bat? And Bangalore wicket, just like the Mumbai wicket or Kolkata wicket, they always have a little bit of bounce. When you have lanky fast bowlers in the New Zealand team and conditions which more reminded me of windy Wellington rather than Bengaluru, and why would you go and do? I don't know whether it's an error in judgment or they pre-decided Bengaluru is also going to spin, in the fourth inning. So somehow, if they survive the first innings and score some runs, and they will get the opportunity to bowl, the fourth innings. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. That happened, and a lanky, novice spinner who see his record in IPL and see his record, he has never picked up 5 wickets, and the competency of the team unraveled in terms of the first innings, 46. Nobody had the temperament. Some of the shot making and some of the, the game that went on was, pretty modest, to say the least, Sriji.
Sridharji, one of the things that shocked me was it appeared that nobody was putting a price on his wicket. Sridharji, I will tell you, Australia number 10 and number 11 will bat as if their lives depended on it. Number 10 and number 11 will bat like that. India will run through the first 4 or 5, top order to middle order. Then they'll find it difficult to dislodge the tail. This is a story that repeats itself again and again and again. And you will see that happen again this time too. But at home, these conditions. What surprised me was first 2 wickets, okay, they didn't even see the bounce, they got misjudged. But couldn't they do some kind of mental adjustment that, look, hang out there for some time. Learn to leave the balls, because not everything is going to go and hit you on the stump. Somewhere that application doesn't appear to have been there. Either that, sir, I've got a contrarian theory also. The contrarian theory is, people said, look, you're not going to be dropped even if you fail. Because I see 6 innings of many frontline batsmen, they don't have any scores to speak of, and yet they're continuing to play in the next tour in Australia. Surprising. To me, it's surprising. You have to, reward success and you have to punish the failures.
Yes. Alignment of performance to incentive and pay is very critical. When you have guaranteed payouts upfront listed in various categories, and when you have retainer fees that ranges from $1 million or $250,000 to, on the higher side, about $3 million, I don't know, so it translates into crores. You have, as you rightly point out, there's no kind of incentive mechanism to put in that application. Or, play at your will, recognizing if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. That's just been, in more recent times, the guaranteed paybacks and franchise money that flows in, and the influence of the franchise owners to plow the coffers of the BCCI does play a part in terms of this attitude. And many of them don't play 4-day games.
Very true. Many of them opted also to not play Ranji Trophy, which had already started, and BCCI didn't seem to mind. So somewhere I see a disconnect, a huge disconnect, as a matter of fact. Nobody asked the Gautam Gambhir, the coach, whether it was his opinion that they should bat first after winning the toss, having seen such a damp wicket. They probably didn't even get to take a look at the wicket unless they lifted the covers and then looked at it. Then if they had looked at it and then still they still decided to bat, that's a surprise, Sridharji.
It's a surprise. Now you bring about Mr. Gambhir. Is it because he's a successful Kolkata Knight Riders coach, and Kolkata Knight Riders, has its own kind of, all of them have influence. And so whether that played a part in his selection as a coach remains, remember, the transition happened from Rahul Dravid, who had dealt with adversity, who had coached these teams, worked with these teams, has had a very enviable record, handing the mantle back. And then you hand over the mantle, then you find this, significant kind of failure. Okay, you lose the series is okay, but to lose 3-0 against a very, very modest New Zealand team, both on the bowling and batting. Remember, Kane Richardson was not playing in this 11. Many of these players were substitutes due to
Kane Williamson.
Oh, sorry, Williamson. Yeah, Williamson had not played during the series. So therefore, it also begs the question: what was the kind of attitude, and did they feel that it's okay, and we can take this team apart? But the New Zealanders, the Kiwis, are very, very determined lot, very determined lot. And also, I think Indian bowling also one has to admit leaves much to be desired relative to how the Kiwis performed.
Very true, sir. Now let's take a look at the attitude. Sir, even for this team, what was the reason to pick this side that was going to tour Australia before the third test finished? What was the hurry? Because right now, people are baying for the blood of some of the players. They're saying, how the heck can you choose these players when they have failed so spectacularly? Sir, I'll tell you, one of the biggest talking points is Rohit Sharma going to make a huge sacrifice of not being there for his second child's birth and go and play the first test? Sir, this I think this has gone too far, in my opinion. I remember Mohinder Amarnath having toured, I think, West Indies for 3 months or something. Then he comes back and he gets to see his baby, which is like 2 months old.
Yes, money and power and franchises drive the dictum of BCCI and therefore the players. And hence you have these types of circumstances. One comment, this is probably the weakest Indian cricket team to probably tour Australia. Okay, Australia won in the past two series that they won. Go back and look at the teams. They really came early. The teams were reasonably well organized, and both the first string of players in the second series under Ajinkya Rahane, which they won, they had good set of the backups when the primary players had to leave due to injuries or other reasons. So they won the two Australian, the past two Border Gavaskar Trophy in Australia because of the quality of the team. Now you take a look at the quality of this team. Okay, barring Bumrah in the fast bowling, you're going to struggle to see a quality in that specific attack that they have chosen. Okay, and the same players who fail, like Ashwin and so on. Ashwin needs some break. He needs rest because he was totally out of kilter in the series against New Zealand. Then you take a look at some of the players playing in the South Africa, which is this Hardik Pandya, Axar Patel, then Arshdeep Singh. Whether they should be in Australia or playing a T20 series. These are some of the things which one begins to wonder. And they're not even in the India A squad, which is currently touring. By the way, India A squad has lost both the unofficial tests. And again, you look at the team, the combination of the team there, and then you look at the players playing the T20 in South Africa. So it begs the question whether the talent pool is being rightly prioritized and dispersed according to their capabilities and the needs of India.
Now let's take a look at the mindset. Sir, did you know that in one of the innings, Virat Kohli got bowled off of a full toss?
Virat Kohli has a problem. He has to decide what his problem is. He's clearly got a mind issue. I don't know whether it's attitude, but it's a mind problem that is a mental problem that he's kind of going through because both his shot making selection as well as some of his on-field decisions in terms of running between the wickets in the current state of current matches, leaves much to be kind of desired. He is considered the senior player. He carried the mantle very successfully in the past two series in Australia. And all one has to do is look at his record for the past 3 years. He's on, off, on, off, on, off. He has not played any 4-day cricket other than nets. He has not played, I don't believe he has played any 4-day cricket. And he's probably played a good number of T20 cricket for his franchise because his franchise dictates it. So without that kind of mindset, attitude, and how to kind of, play long format games, you walk into a test series against a very professional side, you are in trouble, Sree.
Thank you, sir. And this is where I really have a problem with it. there are many situations where if they batted out a little bit longer, you have to battle it out. It could be ugly. You may have to take some body blows. If you battle it out a little bit longer, things start becoming easier. The bat starts meeting the ball and you start scoring runs. I somehow felt that these collapses were too many, sir. 8 wickets gone in 44 runs, 5 wickets gone in 15 runs. This kind of stuff, it's not made in test matches. There is no pressure. Tell me one test match that went the distance. There was not a single draw. Many matches were like 3 days or over, or maybe a little bit into the 4th day. That was it. So somewhere people don't seem to want to spend time in the middle. That's why I said mindset. Mindset appears to be a problem. Look, if you want to not play test matches, 5 days is a lot to ask. The body takes a beating. Then don't play test matches. Retire in tests. Just play T20s. Especially as you grow older, you probably are better suited for T20, because in T20 it is sudden bursts. As long as you maintain yourself physically in peak condition, you can play those 4 overs of bowling or 20 overs of fielding. It's not okay. It is a little intense, but it's not too bad. So test matches, sir, this is my personal opinion. The way we are selecting the team is totally backward. You need to choose the youngest players in test matches, and after they have done well in like Ranji Trophy and Duleep Trophy, you put the best team from that as your test team. Let them grow into the roles to T20, because T20 is the pinnacle of money. You don't go and pick an 18-year-old to start playing T20 because he's showing talent. If you're really interested in keeping cricket for a long term, this is what I would do. Sridharji, I've also got some stories to tell about how BCCI funds various cricket associations, the ones that vote against the diktat that they put out, how they are penalized. I have a lot of stories to tell. But we don't have time today. But this mindset thing really bothers me, sir, because I'm afraid, like you said, if Bumrah breaks down, 5 test matches is a long time. If he breaks down in the second or the third test, we're done.
Indeed. Srijit, it goes back to see who are the most, consistent, professional test sites. That includes India, right? That includes India. They qualified twice for the WTC finals. And, a lot of hue and cry is being made for the third. But it goes back to the core of the question, which is namely, talent for tests are developed in long format games, whether it is 4 days, 5 days. I'm told the National Ranji Trophy final is 5 days. So you have to play 4 and 5 day games. Doesn't matter what category, what type of player you are, to build the temperament as well as to play long innings with patience. And that's where the attitude and mindset comes from. When you have not played enough 4 day games and long format games, then how are you going to go and play in very tough conditions like Australia? England and Australia run the most professional 4 day leagues, the Sheffield Shield and the English, the Premier League, English, the English League.
County Championship, yeah.
The county championships are very successful. You can see lots of young talent coming out from England. Though, this baseball or the fast game may be short-lived, overall, England has got a terrific bench strength in terms of the quality, the caliber of the team, notwithstanding their abysmal performance against Pakistan in the most recent tour, which was roundly critiqued by Ian Chappell, who said India and England are unraveling with the type of game plans that they have, notwithstanding the fact they probably have good talent in each of these countries.
Lastly, sir, team first attitude. I see this also to be a problem, and I can go quote any number of instances where it is the batsman first, or they want to preserve themselves and not get injured because there is IPL just around the corner. This has become, it has been talked about for so long that people seem to weigh a lot of these things. I give it that you have a small shelf life, 14 years, 15 years if you are really good. Otherwise, 8 to 10 years if you're okay, and perhaps even less than that at the top level if you have talent. So I get that. But what used to happen, Sridharji, was all these players used to be picked up by good companies to work for them. And if they didn't get to play, they still had a job. They still had a paycheck. Today, they have become prima donnas. And what the BCCI might say is, look, the Australian cricket team plays as many test matches as India does. They play as many T20s as India does. They play as many ODIs as India does. How come they are successful and you are not? That is something that you need to ask the players. Why are you not being able to be so successful? Well, one reason is that India doesn't go and play T20 in Australia. They don't play the BBL, Big Bash League. Australian players, on the other hand, play IPL. They also play BBL. Sometimes they go and play a Caribbean League also. Somewhere I see a disconnect. That's where the team first mentality needs to come in. I have a feeling many of them are carrying small injuries here and there and still get to play because somewhere that's not being addressed properly. My 2 cents, sir. I don't know what you think about it.
Well, I think that you have addressed and touched a number of points, Sriji. My thing is that, again, it goes back to prioritization. See, India is today managed as a money power. Okay, India is managing its commitments as a money power. It generates almost 70% of the global revenues in cricket. So it shells out, it works out some agreements in terms of money and minimum number of games. Its emphasis is much more around the T20 shorter format games. It has an agreement with the other two major playing test playing nations, which is Australia and England. So you will often see minimum 5 to 7 tests being played, or at least 5 tests being played either in India or in Australia, either in England or in Australia, and vice versa. So 10 out of 16 or 17 games is guaranteed between these two nations, between the two nations from this the big three. Then you fill up with 2 games against South Africa. 2 games against South Africa, 2 games against West Indies, 2 games against Bangladesh in a kind of a spirit of rotation. Then what happens is that you win a series of games and you qualify for the World Test Championship. It begs the question: is that the right format? Is that the right model? Firstly, on the WTC side. On the second, as I mentioned, given that the emphasis India is today about where I can generate maximum money that I can pull in and have the profits retained for me as well as to distribute, it's in the shorter format of the game. That's where the maximum money is coming in. The TV rights are coming in, etc. So under these circumstances, I think one has to tone down the expectations of performance of the Indian test teams. If it comes, it's great. If it doesn't, then you have to accept the reality that their prioritization is very different. Indians are more overjoyed with their IPL teams winning. I think so, based on the number of crowds that you generate every year. You often get criticism for for the test match losses. You get criticism for not winning ODIs. You even get criticism for not winning T20. India solved that problem by winning the World Championships, or till the next event happens. I think that is now buried. So the championship series is going to come. Prior to that, you have the Australian series. India can as well say goodbye to its WTC aspirations. Then it gets down to Champions Trophy, and Champions Trophy, India has basically said it will not to travel Pakistan, so we'll see what happens. But when both Australian performance as well as the Championship Trophy performance, eventually occurs, then that's going to come to roost, and these problems will remain again, Sri. And then the next IPL league starts, and it is gung-ho back again.
Well. I think the fools are the people who are watching it, and you and I, we are all curmudgeons. We feel that romanticizing cricket. Oh, that day that man scored a brilliant 45. In a pitch with this thing, that thing. We can go on and on. Unfortunately, we are still in that mindset. So maybe the BCCI is saying all these old courts will be gone in 10 years. Then there will be no test match. We can go and make even more T20 matches. We can have even more leagues and make even more money. That appears to be the policy. Whatever it is, the cricket is a loser, and those who have a genuine love for the game to watch a contest between bat and ball. That's what we are not seeing. Sir, I have not watched a game in a long time now. I just browse the...
Scores. I do. Yeah, I do the same, Sriji. Only browse. I don't watch. I don't even watch highlights because
Yeah.
I think it has become a sort of an addiction. Once upon a time, when, as I said, when you used to live in Australia, it's the season. So around November, the cricket season starts. Around February, late February, early to mid March, the season ends. Okay, then we get on to the next sport. So that used to be the tradition, but today it is January to December. January to December, I think it's lost the charm, and it's also lost the sense of what you call suspense and sense of curiosity and etc. So, and the shorter format of the game has effectively more or less destroyed the quality of what I call the test match cricket. The test match cricket, barring a couple of nations, I would put England as number one, probably Australia as number two, who still place emphasis and priority, notwithstanding their performances. Barring those two countries, you don't see 5-day test matches being prioritized by other nations. New Zealand is a fiercely fighting unit. And in any format of sport, they will turn up and they will give their best. Doesn't matter who you put on the field. South Africa has got its own political challenges and problems within the composition and the team. Hopefully, they will turn the day. As far as West Indies is concerned, at least they are very clear. Their priority is T20 and ODI. They're very clear. One should not rule out Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka, buoyed by their losses, the performances that they are putting up in their own conditions, which they really have mastered both batting and bowling. In my humble view, probably Sri Lanka has the best spin bowling combination in the world cricket today.
Sir, to add cherry to what you just said, viewers, I would urge you to go back to the 2008 series when India visited Sri Lanka, and India lost that series 2-1. DRS was in vogue, and India was not happy with the way the DRS worked against them. But the second match was in Galle, and India was 0-1, and Sehwag and Gambhir batted. Sehwag carried the bat through the innings, 201 not out. Muthaiya Muralidharan, Ajantha Mendis, both of them at their screaming best, and Chaminda Was. That is what I say is attitude. The way Sehwag was batting on a different planet. Everybody else, Gambhir gave a good start in the beginning because that was first innings, first day, probably the wicket was a little helpful. Once Gambhir got out, the whole team collapsed 2 times. Only thing was Harbhajan Singh and Kumble were playing for India. They could also spin them to victory. But you go back and look at that one performance of Virendra Sehwag. That's what they should be looking at. If they really want to know how to bat on a wicket turner, sir, they couldn't decode Ajantha Mendis at that point of time. He was bowling this, what you call as carom balls now. But he was bowling at a brisk pace. He was supposed to be an off spinner, and all you got from him were leg spinners. So people are, what is going on? And I've seen some pretty terrible dismissals of some names also, known names also. So that kind of stuff needs to be done again. I really don't hold out much hope for this team that is visiting Australia. By the way, viewers, it's wrong. Some people said that Gambhir and Rohit Sharma have been sacked. That's not true. I don't think. This is just somebody people are angry, so they're just letting things fly. The fur is flying. Rohit Sharma might go or might not go for the first test. I think there is a commitment. I feel like these personal reasons, people staying away, it shows that there's a commitment problem. That's how I see it. Anyway, this is just me. Thanks for watching. Sridharji, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. You have been closer to this ring of players and things like that. So, sir, thank you so much for sharing your views also. We'll be back again with some other topics closer to Sridharji's heart the next time around. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you so much. And thanks for the opportunity to speak about a topic, that was once upon a time very near and dear to my heart where I used to live in Australia, Sriji.
Yes. Thank you so much, sir. Namaskar.
Thank you. Namaskar. Have a wonderful day.